Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we're going to be showcasing Apocalypse Tier 3 in World Boss and PvP Timeline Battle action. But before we get into that, didn't I throw you guys for a major loop when I put M'Baku on that list in the last video with the Hulk thumbnail? So many comments of people searching through their rosters for M'Baku. You don't have to search for him, baby. Just go into either the White Fox Heroic Quest or the Black Panther Legendary Battle, and you will see M'Baku. He is in the game files, and that's why there's an icon for him. He should become a playable character, hopefully soon, because I think he's cool and he could be a nice combat villain. Anyways, Apocalypse, the combat villain that we're talking about here. Tier 3, we're going to showcase him in both types of content tonight, but we are going to go over his build first. So we've got a CTP of Rage, we've still got the legendary uniform. I went ahead and pushed his type enhancement to rank 3, and we've got the stage 11 overdrive, and then we've got the Uru here. I did swap around the Uru a little bit. I swapped around the 4th gear to crit damage so that we are in the top 200, which is nice, but more importantly, we are capped on crit rate and ignore defense and cooldown, basically capped on dodge, and we've still got 176% crit damage, which is nice. And then we got the 121 on the attack speed. This is with his leadership, mind you, so his attack speed would be a lot lower if we were not using his leadership. It would be 115%, but then he's going to get another 6% from his 3rd skill, so he's going to go all the way up to 127.8, almost 128% for attack speed. So he's maxed out on pretty much everything except for crit damage. However, I have good news and bad news. The good news is he might be able to do some work in PvP with a CTP of Rage, which is really promising. He might not be as consistent or as good as Jean Grey, especially possibly against Jean Grey, but he might be, you know, not that far behind Thanos, especially with a Rage is huge, or with a PvE type Obelisk. So you could maybe give him a CTP of Energy and get away with PvP action. You could possibly give him a double mind damage or a mind damage crit damage proc, and he could still be really good for PvP. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that he has super armor. Like, you still technically need guard break immunity for PvP, but some characters, one character, Jean Grey, is strong enough that she can, you know, basically use iframes and survive long enough to still kill you, even though you can sort of guard break them. So we'll talk about that with Apocalypse. On the flip side, the bad news is I don't think he's going to be that impressive for PvE content compared to what you've already seen from a level 60 tier 2 Apocalypse. So that's kind of what I want to say. I think ahead of showing you the content, that getting him from tier 2 to tier 3 is a huge bump for him defensively for PvP. It gives him almost double the HP. Like, it gives him a ton of HP. It makes him so tanky, and it gives him a tier 3 skill that's a very, very good finisher because he doesn't have any penetration natively, so it's a really good finishing move after you've tanked for that battle. But I'm not that much more impressed with his PvE performances since I got him to tier 3. Additionally, for PvE specifically, the game straight up lags when you use his tier 3 skill. So I really don't like that, and I urge Marvel Future Fight to fix that ASAP, because it's bad. It's really bad. You'll see. But first, we want to showcase that he's actually very strong on his own. He can't do this at level 60 tier 2 without strikers, but he can at tier 3. This is stage 69 Ebony Maw without strikers. I want to show you how much damage he does, and then we'll come back and we'll quickly do it again with strikers. It's consistent. He's able to do this stage without strikers, which is impressive, which means he could probably do stage 99 or very close to it. And the reason why he's so good for PvE is because he hits really hard, he buffs his own damage, and he also has mind control, and he has all resist or mind resist down. So it makes him really, really good for Ebony Maw especially. Now you want to see, this is the problem. The game literally freezes when you cast his tier 3 skill. You also can't interrupt his tier 3 skill until you see the meteor moving. Otherwise, you basically lose that damage. You can cancel his 5th skill as soon as you see him go into iframe. But yeah, basically, you cancel 4 as soon as you see the bubble. You cancel 5 as soon as you see the X from the iframe. Then you just go into his tier 3 skill. Now, the nice thing about the tier 3 skill is that it doesn't lag more than once. I know, we're literally at the point in Netmarble's bugs that we are happy when something doesn't lag more than once. But yeah, it definitely lags the first time, and it lags every time the first time. So if I quit this battle and I go back into it for whatever reason, I'm going to have to face that lag again. The lag is going to return every single time. So that is an unfortunate and frustrating sort of bug right now with this. It definitely needs to be changed. This is obviously not how it's supposed to be. The character should not have a skill that literally lags your device. And it doesn't matter what device you have. This lag is unavoidable and undodgeable. But you can see his tier 3 skill. You can kind of just tell as you're watching me fight. He doesn't do that much damage. He does way more damage with his regular skills than with his tier 3 skill. So if that's the case, then you have to wonder, well, what's his tier 3 skill for? Well, I honestly think it's for PvP. I think it's got guard break immunity penetration, and there's a really nice video on my Twitter. If you guys are really curious and you want to know, everything about Apocalypse, I know some of you watching are like information sponges, and I really respect that. Check out my Twitter. There's someone who posted a video where they basically recorded Apocalypse gameplay, and it seems as though in PvP, of course, and it seems as though his tier 3 skill has guard break immunity penetration. So there you go. We're at 248. This is consistent. He's gonna finish it. It's gonna take about 4.5 minutes, 5 minutes, but he can do a stage 69 with 0 strikers. That is impressive. But this is a max build. So without strikers, that is the most you're going to be getting out of Apocalypse. You're not going to be able to go higher. I have an extremely high, I have max raid level. I have extremely high energy attack on my cards. I've got 47,000 energy attack. I'm not playing around. And I've got a CTP of rage. So he can't go higher without strikers. But that's very impressive. Jean Grey cannot do stage 69 without strikers, I think, against Ebony Maw. However, Jean Grey may be able to go higher than Apocalypse with strikers, because I think Jean Grey does more raw damage. Now, these comparisons that I'm making, I'm sort of telling you on the fly as we're playing, and I don't have proof necessarily to sort of back that up and to say, here is my proof that Jean Grey does more damage than Apocalypse. But if you compare how long it took Apocalypse to do that Master Mold Giant Boss raid, and if you also look at and I'll test it, next weekend, Apocalypse and Jean Grey against Galactus, that's a way to tell, because Apocalypse has mind resistance down, so you have a skewed result because of the fact that he can reduce Ebony's resistances, and so you have a situation where you have a situation where it sort of looks better than it is. It's kind of like, Deadpool. So we're gonna have to get out of this. But yeah, so we know Deadpool and other characters that rely on all defense down are not as good against Giant Boss Raid, because you can't apply that all defense down. And that's really, I think, going to be the big difference between someone like Apocalypse and these other characters, is that they have more potential for game modes and bosses that don't allow you to all defense down compared to ones that do. So Apocalypse, very, very strong, very, very good as a flexible tier 3, because he can possibly do both kinds of content with a CTP of Rage, which is really important. But there are some flaws. So there you go. We got there about a minute faster. So it takes about a minute to get him halfway down. So we turned a 5-minute kill without strikers into a 2-minute kill with strikers. So a 2-minute kill with strikers at stage 69, he could probably at least go to 89, again, possibly 99. But because Apocalypse is relying on two things. He's relying on, they're both on the 4th skill. He's relying on the mind control here, and he's also relying on the damage received increased, which doesn't apply to Galactus, and he's also relying on that mind resistance down, because of course all of his skills except Weapon of War deal mind damage. The Apocalyptic Fist is not going to have nearly as much value against Thanos' second phase, Galactus, and Master Mold, and any other future giant boss raids. So if you were going to straight up compare Jean Grey and Apocalypse in terms of their cost, 1600 CCF, 2,500 crystal uniforms deducted to reduced to 1,500, whatever. I would say for World Boss, Apocalypse is probably going to be better because you don't need to rely on the strikers. You have that consistency built into your kit, and you can push even higher when you combo with the strikers, whereas Jean Grey is at the mercy of the strikers. If the strikers don't coordinate properly, if there's no like synergy, then she's gonna crap the bed and she's not gonna make it. But then when it comes to PvP, I still think Jean is better than Apocalypse. And then when it comes to if they had given Apocalypse a revive, it's a totally different story. And then when it comes to GBR, I think Apocalypse is worse. I think Jean Grey is better because, again, she doesn't need all defense down to hit those crazy numbers and to punch really, really hard. Not to mention the fact that Jean Grey is a hero, so she can take advantage of Ghost Panther and she can take advantage of Nick Fury. If they introduced a Tier 2 passive like Ghost Panther for mind damage, like plus 50% mind damage and increased damage against supervillains that apply to all allies, damn, then now you're cooking for Apocalypse. But right now, given the status of the game, given the type of enemies that you're going to face, it seems like Jean Grey... Whoops. It seems like Jean Grey has more going for her. But anyways, sorry, I'm turning this into a Jean Grey versus Apocalypse comparison. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to highlight his strengths and highlight his weaknesses. He is going to perform weaker against debuff immune opponents like Galactus, Master Mold, Thanos, second phase. Now let's check out some PvP content. Sorry, whoops. You were not supposed to see that. But we're going to go with a unique team. Now, Thanos is technically banned this week, but check this out. We're going to go with this team right here. I was telling you guys about the Fuck Squad. If we replace Colossus with Doctor Doom, we might not have to do that because this squad already is absolutely disgusting. So you combine Colossus's 50% damage reduction, okay, with Apocalypse's 45% damage reduction. That's a lot of damage reduction. It's not 95%. It doesn't stack like that, but it's a lot. And then you combine that with Thanos' 36-36 and decreased debuff duration. I will still get stunned and webbed, but the duration is going to get divided by 1/3, so he's not going to be webbed for very long. I've got reduced debuff duration 38%, and look at that, 26 and 28,000 on the defenses. That's a lot of defense. That's almost as much as Thanos. Think about that. That's a lot of defense. So let's check it out. Let's see what's up. We're going to be putting Apocalypse on autoplay. We're just going to give Apocalypse a little bit of leniency. We are going to wait about 5 seconds before we switch over, just so that Apocalypse has time to sort of prep his skills in terms of cooldown. Now we're going to take our hands off the device, and we're going to see how Apocalypse performs. What I've seen is very good. With the CTP of Rage especially, it's very good. Now, Silver Surfer is one of his toughest matchups, I will say that. So I do want to, yeah, okay, fair enough. We died. That's my first time dying with Apocalypse against Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer's tough because Apocalypse deals so much damage that the Reflect actually hurts. But let's jump into another match so you can see that he can actually solo them all. This time we're going up against Carl with Doctor Strange, so we're also going to be hitting that type disadvantage because Doctor Strange is Blast and Apocalypse is Combat. And we'll see how things go. Same rules apply. Man, these loading screens lately have been taking forever. Same rules apply. We're going to be giving him about a 5-second window here before we switch over, just so that he has a chance to do things before things get wild with Silver Surfer. So we took a lot of damage there, but he's got over 200,000 HP. Again, it's a full PvE build, guys. We're not rocking a PvP build at all. So we can go way higher on oh my god, we're not gonna... Wow. He's getting so unlucky. I was doing so much better on the live stream. We literally did not lose a single match. And now all of a sudden he's dying. But yeah, this is a total PvE build. So on autoplay especially, this is impressive. One more go in autoplay here. I want to see if Apocalypse can do well. Again, we're fighting top 10 teams here, and this is a CTP of Rage. So he can definitely perform better with a PvP build. But I want to show you that he can... There we go. He can perform well with a CTP of Rage, which theoretically also means with a PvE build in general. And that would go even further if you gave him guard break immunity. So like he might be really strong with something like guard break immunity, mind damage, and a proc. Here we're getting guard broken and we're getting chain guard broken, but he just basically needs to land one hit and Quicksilver's dead. Now of course this is a non-Gene week in PvP, so we'll see how he does against Gene, but if he can perform this well against everybody but Gene and Thanos with a CTP of Rage, on auto, he can perform even better on manual. On manual, you might be able to beat Gene's and Thanos's, and then you also have the option of building him for PvP. So, a very interesting tier 3 character. Still need to do more testing. He has definite strengths and he has definite weaknesses, so I like that in characters. I don't like characters to just be like so blatantly overpowered a la Jean Grey, who's just good at everything. So really, really spicy for World Boss, not so spicy for Giant Boss Raid and Thanos World Boss, and potentially very spicy for almost anybody in Timeline Battle and possibly on autoplay. I don't particularly like autoplay, but I wanted to show you guys that just because I know it validates some people and some of their opinions more and some of their, their thoughts more if the character can do well on autoplay. I personally prefer to play characters manually, but that's what it is, and it also applies to Conquest and stuff like that. All those are garbage game modes in my opinion, but yada yada yada. So, with that being said, let me know what you guys think of Apocalypse Tier 3. What content do you want to see next? Hit me up in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.